Today, I'm going to show you how to make the standard 12-bar blues chord progression more jazzy. These different variations will get increasingly more complex, so to make it fun, I've broken it down into 5 different levels from beginner to advanced. And I've also included a free PDF, the sheet music for all 5 levels, which you can download by clicking the link below this video. So let's recap the 12-bar blues. I'm going to keep all the examples in the key of F for today's lesson. As the name suggests, we have a 12-bar chord progression starting on the 1 chord. So in the key of F, we have 4 bars on the F chord. Then we're going to go to the 4 chord for 2 bars, B flat, and then back to the 1 chord for 2 bars, and then 1 bar on the 5 chord and 1 bar on the 4 chord, which takes us back to 2 bars on the 1 chord. Now, if you get up at a blues jam session and you were to play rockabilly blues, like an Elvis kind of thing, say Hound Dog, this is the standard 12-bar blues chord sequence that you would probably play. You can also add or imply the 5 chord on the 12th bar to take us back to the top of the form, back to the 1 chord, which is F. And here's a super useful tip. When playing a 12-bar blues in a rock, blues, or country context, the most common keys are E, A, D, and G, and C, because those styles of music are more guitar-led. So it makes sense that a lot of those keys I just played are the open strings on a bass and guitar. When playing the 12-bar blues in a more jazz context, the most common keys are F, B flat, C, and maybe E flat. Because jazz is more horn-led, saxophone and trumpet, and these instruments are not in concert pitch, with the tenor sax and trumpet being in B flat and the alto and bari sax being in E flat. Level 1 is called the quick 4. This is exactly the same as the standard 12-bar blues, except in bar 2 we go to the 4 chord. So it'd sound like this. We have 1 bar on F, 1 bar on B flat, and then 2 bars on F, like this. Ready? 1, 2, An example of a song which uses this chord progression would be Sweet Home Chicago by Robert Johnson, and there's so many others as well. Level 2, the 2-5-1. Now this is where in bars 9 and 10 we replace the 5 and the 4 chord with a 2 and a 5 chord. An example of a song which uses this chord progression would be Tenor Madness by Sonny Rollins. So here's how this blues form would sound. I'm going to start on bar 7, and this is where I'm going to add in a G minor 2 chord and a C7, the 5 chord on bars 9 and 10. Have a listen to this. If you're enjoying the tip so far and you want to see more videos just like this one, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, as over 89% of you watching haven't subscribed. So if just a small percentage of you watching today do subscribe, I should be able to hit my goal of reaching 10,000 subscribers before the end of this month. So it would mean the world to me if you could hit that red button down below and help support this channel. Moving on to level 3, the jazz blues. Now, if you were to get up at a jazz jam session anywhere in the world and someone called the blues, this is probably the chord progression that you would play. Now, there's 2 extra alterations we're going to need to add at this level. So alteration number 1 is at the end of the 12-bar blues. It's very common for bars 11 and 12 to add what's called a turnaround. Now, there are 2 common variations of what's called the turnaround. Variation 1 is a 1, 6, 2, 5, which sounds like this. Variation 2 is a 3, 6, 2, 5, and then back to the 1 at the top of the form. And it sounds like this. The 1, 6, 2, 5 is probably a little bit more common, but both can be used as bass players. We can apply these different variations when playing a blues bass line or a walking bass line. Alteration number 2. Now we're going to add the 6th chord on the 8th bar of the blues, a D7 in the key of F. This could also be a 3, 6 instead of just 1 bar on the 6. Let's hear how it sounds. I'm going to start on the 7th bar of the blues and we're going to add that cheeky 6th chord, okay? An example of a song which uses this blues chord progression would be Bag's Groove by Milt Jackson. Level 4, the diminished. Now, when playing the jazz blues, it's very common for musicians to add the sharp 4 diminished chord in bar 6 of the 12-bar blues. So here's what that diminished chord sounds like in the blues. An example of a song which uses this chord progression would be Billy's Bounce by Charlie Parker. Level 5, the tritone substitution. Now here's where things get super jazzy. You ready? Okay, so you can add or imply what's called a tritone substitution at different parts of the 12-bar blues. But first of all, what is a tritone substitution? Well, it's where you substitute a chord a tritone away. For example, if you're on an F7 chord, you could substitute a chord a tritone away. Tritone away from F is B, which would mean you can play a B7 instead of an F7. The reason why this works is because chords a tritone interval away from each other share the same third and seventh. Well, the third and seventh actually switch. So the third of F7 is an A, and the seventh of B7 is an A. So the third and seventh swap. The seventh of F7 is an E flat, and the third of B7 is an E flat, so they swap. And that's why a tritone substitution works so well on a blues. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to break down what a tritone substitution is in more detail in a future lesson on this channel. So in a 12-bar blues, here's some common places to add a tritone substitution. We can add a B7 on the 4th bar of a blues, going to the B flat. We can add a G flat 7, going to the F7, and we can add a tritone substitution on the turnaround. So we can make the D7, the 6th chord, an A flat, and we can make the C7, the 5th chord, a G flat. So it'd sound like this. If you love the blues, you're going to love this video next, where I share the top 15 blues bass lines of all time. Click here to check it out, and I'll see you there.